It's September 27th. Seeing events of the New Testament laid out in chronological order offers great insight. After Jesus' baptism and temptation, he calls his first 4 disciples, and today's calling of these men reveals a fascinating dynamic in their relationship with Jesus. Reading through the New Testament, it's clear that throughout Jesus' ministry, the disciples had many questions about him, about his identity, and they were often confused about his mission. Certainly the full understanding of his incarnation was not understood during their time together. Translation, they didn't fully understand that he was actually God in the flesh until after the resurrection. Remember that right up until his arrest and crucifixion, his disciples still couldn't bring themselves to accept that he was going to be killed. Hence their shock and horror when it actually occurred and their dejection afterward. So throughout their time together, as we see their confusion over the nature of his ministry and his methods, it's common to think that they didn't grasp his claim to be the Messiah. But from today's reading, we see that from the very beginning, even though they were not clear on many aspects of his mission and his methods, it was clear to them that Jesus was indeed the Messiah. John the Baptist's announcement in John 1:28 and again in John 1:34 that Jesus is the Messiah came from a very public and controversial figure whose words were making headlines throughout the nation. Likewise, Andrew told his brother Peter in John 1:41, "We have found the Messiah." Philip, the next disciple called, found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the very person Moses and the prophets wrote about. His name is Jesus, the son of Joseph from Nazareth." So even though throughout Jesus' ministry the disciples had many questions, their belief that he was the Messiah was firm and was foundational in their decision to follow him. In fact, we see from today's reading that each of the first disciples acknowledged his messianic title to each other even before the first miracle at the wedding of Cana was performed in John 2:11. Well, why did the first disciples turn on a dime, leave everything behind, and follow Jesus? Because even before they saw any miracles, they believed that they had found their Messiah, the one they had heard of all their lives, the one their ancestors had waited centuries to see. And when the long-awaited deliverer, the next king of the nation, enlists you into his service, you don't ask questions. They were on the ground floor of something very big. They just didn't understand yet the true nature of the mission. And Jesus didn't feel the need to explain everything immediately. He didn't lay out the plan overnight. Instead, he took the next 3 years to show them, day by day and little by little, his intentions, his priorities, his goals, and his methodologies. He wanted them to see not just the what, but he immersed the disciples into a 3-year, intimate, day-to-day, life-to-life adventure that would change them forever and empower them to change the world. It was only at the end of the 3 years that they finally realized and understood that not only was he the Messiah, but he was God. Talk about having an aha moment. Only after the resurrection and ascension did they fully realize that they were privileged to do something that even the children of Israel under Moses didn't get to do. They got to live with God face to face every day for 3 years. Here's today's application. Like the disciples, Jesus has reached out to you and called you to follow him. He has called you to live every day in an ongoing relationship that matures through time. And if you will yield to his will for you, he will show you more and more of himself and allow you to participate with him in this great adventure of his, Operation World Redemption. Even 2,000 years later, we, like the disciples, are on the ground floor of something big. Life with Jesus is the ultimate adventure. Someday you and I will join the disciples and we will get to live with God and Jesus each and every day for all eternity. But that adventure begins now. Embrace it and pursue him today. Now here's today's prayer.